So, welcome, Tom, and welcome, listeners, to another episode of Just One Thing, where training gym owners get actionable insights to build their dream business. I'm your host, Sumit Seth, and I'm with the legendary Tom Plummer again. And over the next 12 minutes or so, we will unpack one thing to help you move forward in your business. So, let's just get started. Tom, today's topic is I'm getting ready to sell. What should I be thinking about, and what can I possibly get for my gym?
Uh, th- 12 minutes. I always laugh when you say that because our personal conversations are 2 hours, and now you want me to do this whole topic in 12 minutes. Yeah, right. So, listeners, this is probably going to be 20 minutes. Just you guys know that by now. So, the the big thing is that people they don't understand the exit strategy when they open the gym. I say this a lot of times, that people just stare at me like like I'm just got dropped off a spaceship under a street light. It's just like, oh, alien. It's just like I tell people, never get into a business until you know how you're going to get out of the business. You have to build the exit strategy into the purchase. Now, a lot of gym guys, they'll say, well, look, I really don't want to sell. Well, you don't today. You might in 5 years. Your life changes. A kid gets sick. You get divorced. A parent gets sick, and you have to move to another state to take care of the parent. We always don't. A dream world is I'll train till I'm 80 or 90, and people will love me, and they'll come to my gym, and it's just go on. But training as a coach, this is a tough business. It's very customer service intensive. It is an extremely difficult business to manage over time. So if you run your gym as if you're going to sell it always, and you always have a 5-year escape plan, then you run it better. And if you hold it for 30 years, just great. God bless you. Go. Just do what you're going to do. But if you ever have to sell it, you always have a maximized asset. And it's I use it like a really nice car. You wouldn't buy a high-end, like Lexus or high-end Ferrari, and then park it in the driveway, never wax it, don't ever park it in the garage, and just let this $300,000, $400,000 asset just tear itself up by neglect. But that's what guys do with gyms. They buy gyms like, okay, I'm going to hold this. This is my nest, and I don't need to reinvest, and I don't do this. And they hang on to the asset, assuming they're always going to have it. And then when they need to sell it, it's worth nothing because they never valued the asset. So rule one is always assume that you're going to, at some point, want to sell this, and always assume it's 5 years from this year. So every year, rewrite your 5-year escape plan. But the asset that you have is the gym. You don't even know how to put a value on it. If somebody wanted to buy it, you have no idea. And you run it like it's a little clubhouse. You just take enough money out of it so you never maximize the potential of the asset. So if I'm always going to sell it, and assuming I want maximum dollars for it, if I have to sell it, then I run it better. So that's the first thought is, okay, I have to sell this asset at some point. I need to get the best bucks I can. So using that mindset going in, then we have to start to figure out, okay, what could this thing be worth? And that's the hardest thing about this now, is there's just the multiples, and how things sell these days are just stupid. Still going to have at least a base reference point. Just some base reference point, well, what Uber sold for, it's like, well, we're not quite Uber, but so the base formula is EBITDA plus owner's compensation times 3.5 minus the debt. And EBITDA is interpreted as earnings before income taxes, depreciation, amortization. And you have to use that. We're going to talk about, I think, partnership agreements somewhere in here as well, because that makes it hard to sell unless these are in place. But the formula, a lot of your accountants will go, well, especially older accountants will go, well, no, that's wrong. I don't know where he got that. It's earnings before interest and taxes. we don't sell for 20 million or more. There is no, $2 million in debt where the interest passes back to the buyer. Our gyms sell for 500, 800, a million too. If you own 5 or 6 gyms, they might sell for a few $1,000,000. But so when you define this, it's earnings before income taxes, depreciation, amortization. We'll come back to that, plus owner's compensation. And owner's compensation is salary, bonuses to shareholders, which is usually, you or your LCC partners, phones, cars, insurances you take out, travel expense. I'm going to London for a workshop for one day and I stay 10 days. Well, we write the whole thing off as a business trip. That goes back through there. So owner's compensation is what the owners take out. And then the 3.5 is the art form of all this. The 3.5 is where the beauty comes in. If we looked at 100 gyms that really sell, most of them do come down to that multiplier, which is 3.5. So let's back up and put it all together. So earnings before income tax on your tax return is that there's let's say I do $1 million, in revenue this year. Well, I'm showing top line of $1 million, and then I show expenses of 800. Well, your salary should be in the 800, but I have 200,000 pre-tax. That means before the accountants tear it up, play with it, make you reinvest in equipment to cut your tax burden. So earnings before income taxes, that would be the 200. The depreciation is a line item that if I buy the gym, you're deducting it, but it's really, to me, it passes back through me in cash. And then they have amortization. If you're a franchise, you have amortization. Amortization for us in a gym business is intellectual property. Like if you have books that you're passing through. So Mike Boyle sold his gym and he passed all his book revenue through the owner. Well, that's intellectual property amortization that passes through. Also, if you're a franchise and you paid $50,000 to buy your franchise, that's built in. So that we lump that in the amortization process. The bigger companies have different ways to interpret that. And your accountant, if they work with huge companies, may say, hey, in our world, just keep it simple. It's either intellectual property or it's the franchise. Most of you, when you sell, will not have any listing under amortization unless you own like Anytime Fitness and you have franchise fee that you paid. And then that, of course, that's value. You should get paid for that. You paid it already. So that either passes through to me or I have to pay it myself. But either way, you as the owner selling it, that's value. So if I look at the EBITDA and then let's say I've got 200,000 for pre-tax, I've got 50,000 on amortization because I got a lot of heavy duty equipment in there, zero in this. So I've got 250 plus owner's comp. I tell all owners when they run their gym, pay yourself a base salary of like $40,000. And everybody goes, I can't live on that. I know, breathe. So I pay myself $40,000. And then every 2 months, I sweep the account and pay myself bonuses to shareholders or owners. So the 40,000 makes it easier to get key performance indicators. I can look at most training gyms, for example, their rent is about 1/3 of their operating cost. So if my rent's 15,000, my total operating costs are around 45. Well, 50% of that should be payroll. But if you're taking every dime out of the gym, you'll never ever ascertain your key indicators. So when you pay yourself a base salary, like just a base $40,000 to $50,000 salary, then you take your money out every 2 months. And now it's easier to track, easier to figure it out. And when you sell it, it's much cleaner because I can see you paid yourself this in the expense side, you swept the rest over here. I get it. It's clean. So it makes it so much easier at that point to sell. So you take 40 or 50, sweep. The only thing I tell guys is make a mental deal with yourself. And if you definitely have partners, definitely do this, is agree to leave a minimum in the checking account. So I might agree to leave $10,000 in the checking account. We never go below that. That's emergency money. But so every 2 months we sweep, there's $20,000 in, all the bills paid. Yes. We need anything? Nope. no equipment needed this month. I got $10,000. I either take it out myself or it's dispersed to partners. So it's EBITDA plus owner's compensation, which is the bonuses we sweep. And then I look at the value. Okay, you're taking your car payment out. You're running it through the business as an expense. Well, I buy your business. That money goes to me because it's not going to your car payment anymore. So your cell phone you're running through. Cool, I get that. That money comes to me. So owner's compensation is all in, then times 3.5. And then once I get that number, then it's minus the debt. That is the number that I never share with anybody. That is what my business is worth as just a flat line number. This is what it's worth. If I'm selling, I might use EBITDA plus owner's compensation times 6. And so if you and I are buying a gym, we're going to figure out this and offer times 1 but what it's really worth is 3.5 to 4, right around in there. Even the highest sales in the gym business in the last 30 years the top ones have only been based on an 8 multiplier. The number, and that was, people will pay more. And this is a very big thing is guys go, well, I want a franchise. Well, why? Well, you're going to make, look, franchises haven't been overall that successful in our gym business. Only a couple, like maybe Anytime, Curves back in the day, Anytime Fitness have really proven to be successful as franchises. Gold's has some issues there. They're kind of restructuring their company now these days. World sold at one point, and their total number of units, I think, is down from their peak. Some small companies like Powerhouse that maybe had 200 or 300 gyms. That was a lot of fun. That was a real fun company, fun brand. And I don't think much is left of that organization as far as sheer number of units. So when things come and go like that, there's a point of, if you're looking at that, there's almost a point of no return on what these things could generate. So if I go back to EBITDA plus owner's comp times 3.5, then if I know what that number is worth, then I can use the multiplier. Now back to the franchise thing. If I'm trying to build a concept up and I have 5 gyms and they all are running on the same thing, same system, but they're different markets, somebody might want to buy that to scale it because you've already validated your business systems in 5 different locations. So I don't want to be the guy that runs the franchise. I want to be the guy that sells the concept to the franchise. Equinox is the same thing. The family that ran that was extremely talented. They were way ahead of their time, brilliant gym owners. And they sold their units to a company that wanted to scale it. So the multiplier was higher. Right. Because you're buying a scalable product. But if I own a single gym, it's going to be worth 3.5, 4.5, somewhere in there. But I never offer it that. I'm going to sell it for 6 or 7 times. And that's what I show the potential buyer. And then if I'm buying it, I know what it's really worth, 3.5, 4.5, somewhere in that range. But I'm not going to pay you full price for this. So I'm going to offer you 1.5, and then we start the negotiation. So when you have this, you know it. Now, let me figure one big point, and I know you've got some other questions. The big point is, if I have that formula, then I constantly try to keep the value in the formula. So that's why I reinvest in my gym every 3 years. So tear out the turf. It's 3 or 4 years old. It's all beat up. Put new turf down. Then I'm looking at reinvesting. Okay, so my leases example, I always want 2 to 3 5-year leases or option periods on my lease because that builds up value. Because when I'm selling with the EBITDA and I can go, look, I've got a great lease and I've got 2 option periods with the same number, only a 2% increase, and I'm under market value, my gym is worth more money because I made the decisions to do that. That is reflected in the total package of EBITDA because I got these great leases. So my multiplier might be 6 because look at the value I brought through the leases. So every decision you make increases the value of the asset by using the application of the EBITDA formula.
Fair enough. I think you hit upon it. One of my questions would have been, how do I increase that multiple? Because I've also heard and read that the multiple, like, you're saying 3.5, Tom, I've also read it ranges from 2.75 to 3.5, 3.75. And the trick really becomes, from a gym owner perspective, is, like you said, I want it on the high end. So what parameters can I control to make it look better and get a better value? And like you were saying, just the lease part of it, the amortization part of it, if you have that, which you rightfully said most training gym owners won't have. But what other things are in my control that I can do to get that higher multiple, if you will, is what it
Good
comes
question.
down to.
There's like a couple of key items here. One, don't put your name on the door. This is, if this is, my name's Freddie Johnson, and this is Freddie Johnson's gym. Well, that's pretty hard for me to buy Freddie Johnson's gym because his name's all over everything. So you're such a product in your own gym that I can't even buy it because it's all you, it's all your brand. Second thing is operation systems. For example, one of the things that I think we've even talked about is the role of the assessor in the gym. One person with training experience, not afraid of asking for money, that really is the first experience for every new potential client in the gym, and she places everybody into the system. We don't let the trainers sell. Well, I buy your gym and you've got a 25-page training PDF on the computer for that job. I'm like, cool, but that has value. You have operation plans, you have a library of workouts, you have a YouTube library of your 75 most used exercises with the front view, side view, and a progression and regression. All that passes to me. Wow. So now you're looking at 6-7 times multiplier because I can come in and operate it. But if it's Freddie's gym and Freddie is everything, it's not worth much. That leads to the next thing is 12-month contracts. You got packages and sessions. That's everybody can leave the day you sell. I don't even have time to prove that I'm a good coach. So there's not a lot of guys left like that, but there's still a significant number that still believe in packages and sessions versus 12-month contractual obligations. So if I'm doing that, so if I've got 300 clients paying me an average of 300 a month, adjusted for the loss rates, we usually use 0.88 in a gym for the multiplier. So if I take 300 clients times $300 times 0.88, and they're all on 12-month contracts, I'm looking at this going, okay, that's big. Because the clients, they can't run away. They can't all quit tomorrow. I've got time to fight back. So the 12-month asset is enormous. Gym owners oh my God, the equipment is, I've got this great equipment. Well, you've got a 3-year-old treadmill. It's worth $500. Even the best treadmills in the market are only designed for about 4 years. We beat them up in training gyms. So that's not worth a lot. Steel is worth a lot, especially in the last year because of the virus. But steel is still somewhere in there. A used kettlebell is not going to deteriorate too much, but you get into bent bars and you get into torn up workout benches with small rips in them or stains, or they're just overused, and you start to, plyo boxes are all beat up and you're like, oh my God, I got $80,000 of equipment and it's worth about $20,000. So you only have really one asset, well, two to sell. One, if I'm buying your gym, and so I buy your 12-month base, your receivable base. That receivable base means I have a whole pile of clients that I can project their income into the future. If it's packages and sessions, I have no receivable base because I have to collect money every time I see the guy.
Correct.
And I have strong leases, and you throw in the third factor, which I have, training operations manuals for all the key points. And then I'm looking at a gym down the street it's Freddie's gym. Freddie has none of the manuals. It's all Freddie. These packages and sessions, same square footage, maybe even the same number of members. But I'm looking at these gyms going, this one's worth zero. And this one's worth maybe, this could be a $800,000, $900,000 gym. This is really, the difference really comes down to those factors. So if you want to build up value, one, create systems. Two, you're not the product. You have to use a team to deliver the product and the service. Is it scalable? Can I duplicate this if I can through the manuals? And if I buy it, what am I really buying? I can go to Perform Better tomorrow and get some great equipment delivered with the best service in the industry. I can do all that type of stuff tomorrow. So your equipment is cool, but I can replace it so easily these days and really not at a huge expense. What you have is a location that I can perpetuate my business in, and a membership base when I buy in that I have time to get my name out, get my coaches in, get my brand going. And we might run it together for 30 days. So I'm introduced to your clients before you run away. But we just, it's those assets. So those help give you that 6 to 7 multiplier.
Got it. I would think, Tom, would it be fair to say it also makes a difference on how long the tenure of the coaches is also with the business, because that shows that you're taking care of the staff knows the customers, and they're, again, coming down to the policies and procedures in place to train the trainers, and the product that they're providing, which leads to a higher retention. All those factors also come into place, because at the end of the day, higher retention will follow up on, oh, these members have stayed with you for all this time. The chances are they're going to stick with it because now that's their lifestyle. So I'm going to get more money because I'm buying a business turnkey that way.
The staff is such a wild card. It's just, it's the way you described it is how it should be in a perfect world, but it's also the one that can go badly very quickly. It's that surprise. You never know what's going to happen. When I look at their longevity, sometimes longevity doesn't mean that's a good thing.
Okay.
I was working with a very large gym, old gym, 42 years old in Nebraska. And the guy was quite, owned it. He was, he have been 78 years old, I think, maybe right in that range. For an active gym owner in a 50,000 foot facility, that's getting some age on you. And funny thing is, I helped him write a 15-year life plan while I was there, but I'd love that. But he's bragging about his staff, and I'm looking at his staff. He had 3 people who've been with him 20, 22, and I believe 24, 25 years. And they were worthless, absolutely worthless. And he paid them so much and they did nothing. Absolutely nothing. The saleswoman, after 20 years, couldn't even show me how many leads they had in the previous month. She had no sales systems. She just sat in an office all day. And if somebody came in and said, I want to sign up, she took the money, no calls, nothing. The manager was worthless. The head trainer hadn't probably trained anybody in 5 years. So longevity is not necessarily a gift when you buy a gym. Okay. So when I'm buying it, I should have at least a backup, but I have to look at the staff as an individual, one guy at a time analysis to figure out if what I really do own here, and I give them all 90 days. So everybody has the right to fail. So when they come back in, they fill out new paperwork, new application, submit a fresh resume. Legally, I should do all that anyway to protect myself. And they go back, good, we're starting again. And here's what you make. Good. I'm going to, at the end of 90 days, if you're still here, I'm going to pay you more. I'll pay you more in this. But at the end of 90 days, I have to figure out what I have to even go on with that person. So you have to be able to, staff is sometimes a gift and sometimes a burden. But you always have to assume, one, you hope for the best, but plan for the worst. I should have at least a coach in my pocket when I buy a gym, because I could lose everybody the first day. I might have fire everybody by the second day. Good question, Sue, but I just don't see, it's an individual. It's either Freddie the accountant or Freddie the rabbit head. And you don't know until you get in there and, just hang out with them for that first 90 days of what you really own.
Okay. So on that note, Tom, I know I said 12 minutes and you're right, it's more than 20. So we should probably end this here. I have some more follow-up thoughts that are brewing, and maybe that becomes part of episode 2, 3, and 4. I think it could be a 5-part series. So let's end this and we'll get into part 2 of this, if you will.
Okay, sure.
All right.